Welcome to the interview room. Muzzy checking in the times here. How you all doing? All right, let's begin. Let's have a chat about the fact that I want to interview the best fighters in the world, and that's that. Had a lot of guests from everywhere, all across the globe.
How are you guys and girls? Muzzy here from Muay Thai Interviews again. My next guests are two young, very passionate ladies who have delved into the world of martial arts to bring you some of the best coverage and written articles out there at the moment. One of their mottos is, "Our story is writing your story because your journey matters." I'm joined by part of the Fight Vault, Shanice Sim and Sim Semi. How are you, ladies?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for finding time to have a chat. I know it's quite busy and everyone's got hectic schedules. So anyone I get a chance to have a chat with, greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on.
No, thanks for doing some cool work. So this has been quite a cool little project you girls have been running. I'm keen to hear about how it all started and what are the motives and everyone's key roles in the project.
Yeah, so the Fight Vault started actually quite abruptly. It was about July last year. So beginning of 2017, I started contributing to another online fight publication. And I was just writing a few articles here and there, nothing too special. And my first interview that I ever actually did and wrote and published was Kaylee Reese. So I did that as an assignment, as a project for studies at the time, because my career before I sort of took off with my writing was I was a personal trainer and strength coach.
Yeah.
So I was interviewing athletes for an assignment that I was doing, asking them, how does their mind work and what does it take to be a world champion? So Kaylee was the first fighter that I interviewed. Up until that point, I'd only been interviewing fitness models and bodybuilders and people in the fitness industry. And to be honest, and nothing against them, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I found Kaylee's story so much more inspiring. And I just, I've always loved martial arts. My dad was a martial artist growing up as well, so I was always sort of exposed to the world. So interviewing Kaylee, I thought, man, fighters have awesome stories, and the things that they go through, the things they put their bodies through to make it to the ring. Like Kaylee would tell me some of the things, the injuries she had and what was going on in certain fight camps, and you think, man, that's really inspiring. And so the next interview I did after Kaylee, because I decided I wanted to keep interviewing fighters, was Yolanda Schmidt. And she had no idea who I was, no idea. I was nobody. I had a health and fitness blog, and I ran my online PT business through that website. It's called The Co-League. And I just reached out to Yolanda. I said, hey, I'd love to interview you. I've just done this interview on Kaylee. And that interview with Yolanda is sort of what put me on the map a bit as far as fight journalism goes. And then I started contributing a few online articles. And by July, I just found there wasn't really a platform for me to put all these articles that I've been writing about local Muay Thai fighters, because Muay Thai, it's what I spend most of my time in the gym doing. I did do jiu-jitsu for a while, but now Muay Thai is, what I do every day.
Yeah.
So I love Muay Thai. And, it just came to the point where I had so many stories banked up and they weren't getting published because they were just about local fighters. And so I woke up, it was a Saturday morning, and I said to myself, you know what, I'm just going to create a page in my website at that time, the Co-League, and I'm going to call it the Fight Vault. It's going to be the section of the website that's just dedicated to the articles that I've been writing for these local fighters, because, I cared about them, I cared about these stories, and I didn't really have the guts to do anything with the Fight Vault until it was about October. And that was when I interviewed Toby and Nugget for the first time.
Yeah.
And up until that point, I hadn't really thought about taking the Fight Vault into its own platform. I hadn't thought about taking it away from the Co-League. But, after interviewing them, Nugget said, you should go with this. It's a good idea. And then I started speaking to a few different people. I just decided it was time to branch out and take a bit of a risk. And so, December 1st last year, I launched the Fight Vault onto its own website, and within a few weeks, I realised this thing is a lot bigger than just me, and that's when I actually reached out to Sim and asked her to come on board. I said, I didn't really have a solid plan at that stage, but I stole her away for coffee and said, hey, this is my idea. If you want to jump on board, and she was all in.
You're all in, Simi. And can you tell me about your logo? Because I know that that means something to you, the design that you came up with.
Yeah, absolutely. The logo, I sat down in a cafe, and when I was starting to think about how I was going to launch the Fight Bowl, I took it very seriously. And I do have a background in marketing and branding, graphic design and events. So, from a business perspective as well, I thought I want this to be legit. I want there to be a brand and a presence with the Fight Bowl, and I really cared about it. So I sat down in a cafe and I just started drawing. I'm not very arty as far as drawing goes or anything, but I played around with a few ideas, and I think there's a few different significant parts to the logo. There's 8 studs on the bolt, so that represents the 8, the 8 limbs of part of 8 limbs with Muay Thai. I think the colours is probably the other most significant part to that logo. You've got that gold and then that navy blue. We could have gone with red, and I showed it to a few people as well at the time. I was like, oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And everyone in the Thai boxing community said, oh, you should add that Thai flag red into it. And I thought, we're all about fight sports as well. I don't just, Muay Thai is the heart of the fight ball, but I also want us to be able to be relevant to other, fight sports as well and other styles. So that's when I changed the colour to gold from red. Originally the logo was going to be red and blue. And the gold, it just added, because the gold is, part of the vault, and it just added some character to the logo. It made it stand out as well. And we've actually just redesigned the logo because we're coming up to the first year anniversary of the Fight Bowl, the first birthday. So we've actually just redesigned it. So surprise, no one knows that yet. Stay tuned. So yeah.
So are you gonna like with the redesign of it? Are you gonna use that from when you launch it, or are you just gonna? Is that just like a anniversary thing, sort of like a one-off?
We're going to relaunch the logo and rebrand. We've got some exciting projects sort of in the works at the moment, some things happening next year, and we just felt like the logo needed a bit of a facelift, a bit of a spruce up, so that next year it's fresh and ready to go for some of the things that we've got planned, so it's exciting.
Yeah, nice. And Shanice and Sim, you both fight out of Riddler's Gym in Perth. Can you tell me how you both found Muay Thai and how Muay Thai came into your lives?
I've always been interested in fight sports. I was really into wrestling when I was a kid, until my mum told me that it wasn't real, which was a real big shock for me. I really like WWE, but unfortunately my mum had to ban me from watching WWE because I would practice those things on my sister who didn't appreciate it. I used to think everything on the TV was 100% real.
Yeah.
So to emulate that in real life, I thought it was okay. But I came into Muay Thai. I was actually pretty nervous to try out Muay Thai, just because at the gym that I did start training Muay Thai, it was where my boyfriend trains at, and I didn't want to be the girlfriend trying out Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Really wanted it to be like a thing for me, and I didn't. It took me a few months. I used to just sit and watch the guys train, watch the fights. I'm a very, very visual learner, so I just used to watch for a while, and eventually I got the guts to join in. Never looked back, really.
So how long ago was that you found Muay Thai?
I think about 3 years ago, so I've been training for 3 years now. Yeah.
Nice. And Shanice, what about yourself?
I said earlier, my dad was always involved in martial arts growing up, and so I was always exposed to the world of martial arts. I grew up watching the UFC, and my dad, he was more karate focused. He came from a dojo, so I started in dojo as well, but they had Muay Thai classes, and so I did a little bit of everything at the beginning. For me, it was more about fitness and health. I was a bit of a bigger girl when I was a teenager, so I actually, when I was about 19, funny story, I'd broken up with my old partner, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to lose some weight and get that revenge body that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
And so I joined the dojo and I started training, and I just, at that time, Ronda Rousey was at the top of her game. So she was, you know, the top of the world and queen of MMA. And so I kind of wanted to be like her because she was really cool back then. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do MMA just like Ronda Rousey. And so I started doing jiu-jitsu and a couple of BJJ tournaments and things like that. But I got really badly injured in about 2016. I did the rotator cuff in my right shoulder, and then I did the ligament in my left ankle. So between my left ankle and my right shoulder, my body, I just couldn't do anything really for a few months. And when I came back, that was when I actually transferred to Wrigley's. And I started the Muay Thai because it was stand-up. And it was like I didn't have to wrestle on the ground or anything. There wasn't that risk of tearing my shoulder again. You know, I was like, oh, I'll work on my stand-up for a while. I'll work on my Muay Thai, my strike, and then I'll come back to MMA. I just never went back to MMA. I ended up going to Thailand last year for a few months, and I've just fallen in love with Muay Thai, I think, because there's so many layers to the culture and there's so much tradition. It's just such a beautiful sport. I've just fallen in love with the lifestyle of Muay Thai more than anything. Yeah, I haven't been back either. It's sort of that thing that hasn't let me go.
So you haven't done BJJ since?
No, I mean, I've rolled a few times, and I think about it sometimes because I do love jiu-jitsu. I think it's great. It's totally different kind of training. You're using different muscles, and you use your brain a lot in jiu-jitsu, I think.
Yeah.
So I love jiu-jitsu, but I just, you know, especially if I'm training full-time in Muay Thai, I don't really have the energy to be doing two different, you know, disciplines. You can't give 100% of energy to two different things. So, yeah, maybe I'll pick it up again one day, but right now I'm just cruising along with Muay Thai.
Yeah, nice. So how do you two manage to juggle your time between, you know, working a full-time job, training for upcoming fights, as well as managing the Fight Vault and getting your content out to the public in a timely manner? Because I know you like to set yourselves deadlines and goals that you like to achieve.
Well, for me, it's probably a lot easier because the Fight Vault kind of is my full-time gig right now. It's what I'm doing pretty much every day. But I am a casual FIFO worker as well. So I was a PT and a strength coach and worked in the health and fitness industry. And I get flown up maybe once a month just on a casual basis to go up and run the gym up in the mine sites up north. So that gives me a lot of freedom to be able to work in the Fight Vault. I have a lot of time, and that supports the Fight Vault too. So I'm very fortunate with that. Next year is going to be pretty busy. I reckon the Fight Vault will probably be a full-time gig by next year. The way that we're growing is awesome.
Yeah.
It's full-time.
I work full-time. There's no fast and loose answer to that. It's pretty tough juggling all things and training and making sure you're eating and drinking enough water, even those kinds of things. But it's something that we're both really passionate about. I think it's a passion. Like if you have a drive to do something, if you've got an ambition or a goal, you can do it. Like time isn't really a factor in those aspects. If you want something enough, you're going to make it happen.
Yeah, and as far as meeting deadlines go, we've both worked for ourselves. We've been our own bosses in a way for 3 to 4 years now between the two of us. Like we've both worked for ourselves, and you learn to be disciplined with your own deadlines. You learn to, you know, work out your own schedule and just be better at time management and become very independent in that sense. You know, and because, like Sim said, we are so passionate about the Fight Vault, it wouldn't work if we didn't believe in it, you know. Growing quickly, it has, and, you know, there's no denying that we've come far in not even a year, but it's because we believe in it with everything. It's like I wake up in the morning and the first thing on my mind is what content are we doing for today, and what stories have we got going at the moment, and, you know, what projects are we doing, what shows are coming up. So we've got Domination next weekend, we'll be there, so now we're gearing up for that. And there's a lot to do. I think when I first started with the Fight Vault, it was a little bit quiet, and I didn't really have a foot in the door. I was still learning to network with a lot of gyms and build that relationship.
Yeah. But
now we've done a lot of networking this year. We've really prioritised the relationships with the people that we work with in the gyms of Perth. Like, we're not afraid to get our hands dirty and go out there and meet the fighters ourselves and take the time to go out and be amongst it, not just sit back in an office and be your typical media journalist, you know. Like, we spend a lot of time going out and meeting people and building that relationship.
Yeah, I think it's good too, because you put faces to the names. Like, see, you know, like myself, like you message people and you talk to people so many times, but sometimes I like to do the video because you can put a face to the name of, like, oh, this is like how you going, rather than just, oh, this is so and so. Yep, sweet. On to the next one, like not being seen.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a difference, I think, in business, in sport, in whatever you do in life. You need to make it a priority to build relationship, to build rapport with people. Yeah.
So that's with anything. And when writing your articles, visiting gyms and going to cover fight shows, and just generally doing your thing for the Fight Vault, do you have a specific focus or something that you're looking for when you do go out to the gyms and do distribute your content, or do you sort of play it by ear and sometimes it just, wherever it takes you, it takes you?
With the writing aspect, because that's really how the Fight Vault started, was purely writing and journalism. I've never been your typical reporter or journalist. I think that's where I felt like I needed my own platform to put my stories, because I was told that they were too long to publish online and they were too descriptive, too emotional. And I think that's pretty much how I write. I'm a very creative writer, very expressive. So when we're interviewing fighters, and Sim's picked this up really well since, you know, she came on board, is getting to the heart of the fighter, like really sitting down and having a really honest conversation with them and trying to hear the emotions in their story and just draw out those elements of their journey, because that's what makes the story interesting. Like, we picked story of Daddy Cool the other day, and that story has been in the works for months. Shout out to Daddy Cool. But that's probably the longest article I've ever written, but it was so good that I couldn't condense it. There was too much in there to try and just shorten it. It was so much emotion. I had so many people message me and they're like, that was a really long article, Shanice, but I read the whole thing because it was so real and it was raw. And I think that's the essence of the Fight Vault. We want it to be authentic. We're not just going to pump out articles for the sake of it. So when we're meeting the fighters, you know, when we go to shows, if we're doing photography, if we're doing videos, whatever it is, we're trying to capture the moments that matter, you know. That's where we say with our saying that your journey matters. Like, the journey of the fighter matters to us. We really dive into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you both work on, like, is the majority of the content that you bring out, like, is it done together, or do you sort of have your own separate ideas and visions and you go out and do them and then come back and discuss it?
I think it's a bit of both. Like, we both have things that we're working on individually, but we work together really well. So we'll cross-edit and give each other really good feedback, and we discuss what we're going to put up. Just to sort of keep each other accountable as well. You want to be honest in what you're putting up, and you want to have good content as well. So it's good to have that accountability.
Yeah, we communicate like every day. Sim probably gets sick of me because I call her a lot. She never answers, but she does call me back eventually. But, you know, we talk every day, and I think we do work well together, which is why the Fight Vault works well. We've got other team members as well who help as well. We've got Bree. We like to say she's the brains of the Fight Vault. She does the accounting and the books and just makes sure that everything we're doing is right and is done properly. Because if you ask anyone in the team, I'm the creative one that has all these stupidly big ideas.
Really big ideas.
Like, I'll sit down and I'll be like, guys, today we're going to publish a book. And they look at me and they're like, with what money? You know, like, what's the budget? Or we're going to run this massive event and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I come up with these crazy ideas, and that's why I've got a team with me, because I probably send myself broke trying to keep up with myself. So yeah, no, we communicate well. We balance each other out really well, I think.
I was going to say, shit's getting serious when you've got an accountant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got Bree, she's the accountant, and then we've got Lenny, who's just come on board. Again, that's another surprise. We haven't really announced that yet, but we've just brought on a videographer to help us with our promo videos as well. So that's, that was an area that we wanted to grow into, because writing is, like Sim said, it's the devil, we know. It's something that we can do, and it comes naturally, but videography is a very new, promo videos and things. That's a whole new dimension for us. So,
have you girls ever had disagreements with each other about like who you should interview, or certain ideas that you have, and one of you just shuts one of you down?
Oh, all the time. I'm always right. No, I'm joking. We've actually never had a disagreement. I think Sim sometimes looks at me and she's thinking, Shanice, what the fuck? I think that's probably happens at least 2 times a day. But we've never actually had a disagreement, Well, not that I know of anyway.
No. No disagreements. There's just been times where, you're like, hey, let's reel it in a little bit. Like Shanice says, she's got some big ideas. But big ideas need big funding, and we don't have funding. So, I love the fight ball so much, and I get so passionate about it that sometimes it's too much. Like, the girls we've had meetings. There was a point this year where none of us were actually working, and so we would just meet nearly every day, and we'd sit down in my house and we'd get the whiteboard out, and I would just pump out these ideas, because I sit in bed at night and I'm thinking, oh, we could do this, and we could go here, and we could meet that person. And so, yeah, I've learnt to have some patience with the whole process and just let things happen organically and stuff. But we're very driven. I am learning.
It's like you're running and you're about 500 metres ahead of everyone else.
And
Come on.
I'm trying to pull Sim along with that. Come on. Very placid, very calm, and I think that's good for me because it just mellows me out a little bit. I'm a bit hyperactive.
Yeah, it's good. Like they say, opposites attract. You feed off each other.
Yeah.
Now, I know you have a high level of standard that you ladies like to adhere to and pride yourselves on. So in saying that, what goals did you set yourselves at the start of the project? And since then, what goals have you achieved, and what are you still aiming for at the moment?
So I asked him to come on board. It was in December, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was at the end of December, and she officially came on board in January. And we didn't have a whole lot of goals, but we did set a few. And at that time, they were big, and we've already smashed them all, which is, I think, why now I've gone into overdrive and trying to think of bigger things to do, because we've already nailed everything we wanted to do this year. So the first thing that we wanted to do was make it to UFC Perth. We wanted to be part of that. Just one, it'd be great exposure for us. We were just starting out. But two, we just wanted to see how a top-level promotion works, from behind the scenes. We wanted to just be a part of it. Plus, there's some really awesome fighters on that card. So it's quite a funny story. I said to Sim, I don't know how, but we're going to be at UFC Perth. And next thing you know, we had a hotel room paid for us to stay at the hotel where the fighters were. We were part of the fight week. We managed to get to the after party. We interviewed Mark Hunt, Bam Bam that week. And Sim said to me, she's like, what did you say? I don't think I've ever seen someone just manifest what they say like that, because it was a long shot, really.
It was honestly that law of attraction and manifestation. Like, Shanice didn't even have tickets to get to the UFC, and she was like, I'm getting there, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be front and center. And literally, I'm pretty sure it was the day of UFC, she got tickets.
I was sitting behind Bruce Buffer. Like,
sweet.
He turned around, and I'll say this on the record, Bruce Buffer winked at me, and then I went and got a selfie with him, and I was like, don't forget my face. And he's like, I won't. I said, no. I said, don't forget my face.
I think he lives like a full mad, like, singles lifestyle. I've seen some of his photos and some of his Instagram posts. He seems to be living it up.
He is.
Actual lie.
Bruce
got it.
Buff.
Yeah, he's got it going for old Brucey. we smashed that goal. The other big goal that we had a lot of, we're always setting small goals that we can do along the way. So things like what content we're going to put up, fighters that we want to interview, things like that. But the other big goal we had was to get over to Rebellion and meet up with Sai. That happened very recently. I was able to take Sim with me, and we went over, and that was an awesome weekend. We spent some time with Sai as well after. We got to sit ringside at the Roots daytime show. We were there on the judges panel reporting and doing our thing, and people were, the most amazing part of it was people were coming up and just wanting to have a chat, and they were just saying, man, you know, what you're doing, it's reaching us over here in Melbourne, and that for us was really cool to hear. And like, keep going, we love what you're doing. Australian Muay Thai needs that kind of support that you're doing, what you're doing. And we got to sit with Sai, which was really cool. We really enjoyed our time with him, and Mark Hammer as well. Mark has to be so he's just run Warriors Way, which Sim was at on the weekend. So
you're in the corner. I saw you.
Oh, you did?
You're in the corner?
Yeah,
I wasn't actually there. I was watching it on
oh, right.
Someone had live streamed it, because I was actually sitting in front of the computer going, can someone please live stream the 4-man and the River Daz Ben's fight?
Yeah.
So they're the only ones I watched.
I think that's what everyone wanted. They just wanted the 4-man and River Daz. Like,
it was awesome.
Yeah.
Good fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, we got to sit with Mark as well when we were in Melbourne and Sai. It was just really great to get some feedback from them about what we're doing. We've had really good support from day one. Like I said, Nugget has been a really fundamental piece in the Fight Vault Foundations. You know, he's been a big support since day one, and just his knowledge on Muay Thai has really helped us. And then we've also had the support of Riddler as well, Darren Reese. You know, we've had a lot of support from these guys, and that really does fuel us in what we do. You know, we want to do the best that we can because we care, and we've got great support as well.
I think it's you've also aligned yourself with the right contacts in the sport as well. Like, you could have, like, if you didn't know much about the sport or anything, you could have maybe, like, just gone, we'll go with this hook on this promotion and this gym, but it might not be as big or as good as a successful promotion. Yeah,
very fortunate in many ways. I feel like we were just aligned with the right people from day one, and you know, I'm very big on that personally as well, about who you surround yourself with. And so that's always been, you know, like when I brought Sim on board, I was thinking about Sim for weeks before I actually asked her to come and meet you for coffee. And, you know, when I sort of pitched to her about what I wanted to do with the Fight Vault, and I did have big plans for the Fight Vault from day one. It was never just a hobby. It was never just a cool idea that I had. I always had big plans for it. But when I sat down with Sim, I was just very honest. I said, this is what I want to do. And I actually thought she was going to laugh at me, to be honest. I thought she probably thought I was taking the piss because it was nothing back then, you know. But she didn't laugh at me, thank goodness. She sat down and she just kind of turned around and said, yeah, you know what, I'm all in. Let's do this. And she's, been by my side since. Now we're business partners. We work together, and she just can't get rid of me.
You're stuck now.
Lucky her.
So you've told me a few goals that you've ticked off. Have you got anything that you haven't ticked off yet that you're still looking to achieve?
Yep, I believe we are looking to head over to the Far East, Queensland, next year, and we want to be a part of those promotions. We've been obviously a part of Rebellion and Roots, Warriors Way. We got to meet Sai and Mark Hammer. So we'd like to go to Queensland and see what's going on there.
Queensland is definitely happening. We're heading over in January at this stage, and next year I just have this feeling I'm going to be on the road a lot, and we're just going to be travelling to and from. Again, it comes back to that principle, and this was one of the values that I sort of instilled into the whole team when I first started bringing, you know, everyone in, which on a side note, I didn't plan for it to be an all-girls team. It wasn't intentional. It just happened, and it kind of works. It's really cool because there's nothing else like it out there. But yeah, so that's just a cool fact. It's a fully female team, which surprisingly works really well. You'd think that there would be a lot of drama, but there's actually not.
Yeah.
Get on well. But yeah, like I said, it really does come back to that value from day one. I said that we will always value local Australian Muay Thai fighters and the local fight sports. You know, we care about what's happening here in Australia, and we'll take the time to go out to these gyms, take the time to go into state and meet with these people and just show them that we are invested in what they're doing and supporting them, because if we support them, they're supporting us, but that's going to help the sport grow, isn't it? So yeah, that's what it comes down to for us.
You know, I think it's great. And Simi, you said that your ultimate goal is to be a part of raising the standard of Muay Thai in Australia. So how do you plan to do that?
I believe plan is in process. It's always happening, but I really learned a lot this year from meeting with different promoters, learning a lot about how the sport is run, what the fighters do, all the little extra parts that the promoters have to put into their shows, and I want to be able to support the promoters so that we can reach a wider audience. Something that I think we had a conversation with Mark Hammer about, like when you've got a fighter and they're exposing themselves on social media, sometimes it's just such a small group because they're people that are invested in martial arts. And yeah, you've got the support of people that are invested in martial arts, but we need to expand ourselves to a wider community so we can, you know, be able to raise the standard and be able to. People often refer to like the golden era of Muay Thai or like evolution days, you know, when it was aired on Fox, and you know, people actually do what Muay Thai is. Now, if I meet a person in a cafe and ask what I do and I say Muay Thai, like they have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
It's a foreign sport where it doesn't need to be. It's a beautiful sport, and I really believe that we can expand and grow it.
There was, you know, like what Sim's saying, there was a time in Australian Muay Thai where mainstream audiences had very easy access to Muay Thai, and they emulated local gyms, they emulated local fighters. That's where you find fighters that had all these really cool nicknames, like Daddy Cool, for example. That was a name that was birthed through Fox Sports and through the Evolution show. Yeah. And so, you know, it's not like Muay Thai has never been big in Australia. It has, but we're trying to, I guess, bring it back to its, I don't know, its glory. Like we're trying to bring it up again and show that there's a new generation of fighters coming through now that are incredible. And, you know, the world, I don't think the world knows that Australia has so many great fighters down here. I really don't think there is some impressive talent here that goes unnoticed, and it would be great for it to be noticed. You know?
No, you're definitely right about the talent, because when I first started, I was like, oh, I want to interview this person over in this country and this person. But then I started just interviewing Aussie Muay Thai fighters, and I'm like, fuck, there's so many people that I still like to interview other countries and stuff, but it's like, man, there's just so much talent here that I can talk to as well. That's
like when I was writing and my articles weren't really getting published. It was if I wrote about someone in America, let's say I wrote about Valentina Shevchenko, amazing fighter. Yeah. She's already got a huge following, and my little article is not really going to make a huge difference to following or anything like that, because she's already well established in mainstream media and UFC promotion. But I felt like I was wasting my energy writing for fighters that, one, I'm probably never going to meet, and two, they're not in my sphere of influence. So I looked at who is in my sphere of influence. Now there's a tongue tie. Sphere of influence. And I was looking at local gyms, local fighters, and then I started looking at who are the local champions. And, you know, there's so many amazing fighters here, and they all have incredible stories. So it's the same thing, you know, that's pretty much where the fight all started. It was like, well, let's look into Australia rather than just looking at, we've got some amazing fighters here. We don't need to go overseas. And that will come later down the track for sure. I believe that we will go international, but right now there's so much to be done in Australia, for sure.
I was going to say, it wouldn't surprise me if next year you're sitting ringside at 1FC or something like that. I could definitely see that happening. That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
One FC is, it's a lot closer than I think people think. 1FC is definitely on the cards, yeah. Yeah,
and I'm telling all my mates and stuff, I'm like, get off the UFC hype train. It's getting derailed, like, with all this bullshit going on. Get on the 1FC train, man.
Yeah. The UFC has definitely taken a few blows lately with everything that's been going on, and 1FC, they've got these amazing morals in place, and the way that they run their promotion, it's incredible, really. Definitely a fan of 1FC and what they're doing. It's great. Yeah,
definitely with their culture and stuff, and I think the UFC is to blame part of that culture. You know, they had, if you want to get into it, I won't delve too much into it, but we all know what happened with Conor and Khabib afterwards. But if you look back to it, the UFC were, they were using that bollards through the bus window. They were using that footage to hype up the fight. It's like, you brought this on yourselves, man.
That's the culture you've created. You've nurtured that culture. So why would you expect any different? For sure.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. So, Shanice, you clearly have a background in PR, marketing and directing, so you know how to reach your audience. Out of all the different areas you could have picked up to cover your areas of expertise, what was it specifically about combat sports and Muay Thai that fascinates you?
I got bored doing corporate world things. That's probably the truth of it. I actually did work full-time in the corporate world for a while. Writing, I knew I was going to be a writer from a very young age. It's like, and actually, here's a good time to shout out to my homie from Canada, Andrew Martin, who we all know. Yeah.
Yes.
I talk to him pretty much nearly every night on the phone, and he's become a really good mate. And, we were talking about this the other day, and he was saying how people ask him, how can you just go and rap battle on the street and not have to think about what you're saying or, what verse is going to come next? And he's like, well, I can't explain it other than it's like, it comes naturally to me. I just know I was born to rap. And in a very similar way, that's how I feel about writing. It's something that comes so naturally. I can sit and write a 3,000 word essay on Sim losing a dreadlock in graph last week. Like, we were grappling and one of her dreads fell out. I could sit and write a full story about it because I can expand on anything. And I think I've always been fascinated, and that is a funny story. It was like, wasn't expecting the dread to fall out. She just had them redone. We're grappling, and that's the other cool thing is we're training partners too. So we'll be grappling, and in between rounds, I'll be like, Sim, don't forget we have to contact that fighter, and we're like training, but we're also doing fight ball things, so it never ends. But yeah, I can write about anything. And so I grew up, this is probably a little bit off track, but I grew up learning how to translate ancient Hebrew and ancient Greek. Like, by the time I was 10, I could sit down and translate ancient scripts. And so I'm very fascinated with language. I've always been a bit of a tech nerd as well, very computer nerd kind of. I was coding by the time I was 14. So I actually don't think I've ever really told anyone this, but I was quite stupid looking at me like, what the fuck? She had no idea. That's what I mean. I don't really talk about it, but I was coding. I was actually part of like this little online community of writers, and I was the youngest in the group. I was like 14, 15 years old, and I'd get up at like 12 or midnight, and I'd sneak onto the computer in my parents' house, and I would be editing stories for like corporate business owners and things in America, in Russia, and England. They'd send me things and I'd proofread it for them. So I've always been a bit of a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
So that sort of, I think having that kind of creative process from such a young age, by the time I had left school, and I left school early as well because I felt like I was too creative. Like there was nothing for me at school at that time. I went straight into the corporate world, and I just got bored of it really quickly. And that's when I wanted to work for myself. And so the fight ball, I think why I love it so much is because I can literally just wake up in the morning and just create. It's like it can be whatever we want it to be, and that there's no limits when you look at it like that. It's just like we said earlier, I can get carried away. That's the problem, and that's why I need Tim.
Be your own boss.
Yeah, that's how I sort of left the corporate. I just got bored. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll never get a job in corporate, I figured I took that, I realised that about 10 years ago.
What, you don't want to go to a 9 to 5?
No, a suit and tie, it's just not me. So, as spectators of the sport, who do you enjoy watching fight and why?
I honestly cannot pick a favourite male or female fighter. I really enjoy watching, I think I've said it before, I really enjoy watching different styles of people fighting, like definitely different aspects I could pick from different fighters. You've got your forward aggression like Toby Smith, you've got like Kaylee Reese, wow, like what an awesome athlete to look up to. So many different people that are coming up in the sport now. Shanice and I were talking about this before. We were saying Jenny No, like she's only had maybe 2 or 3 fights in Melbourne, but she's such an awesome fighter. Like it doesn't, for me, it's not necessarily a big name or a established name. I just really enjoy watching.
For me, yeah,
good sport.
Yeah, I love seeing someone's character come through in the ring. I love seeing them like just fully, unapologetically expressing themselves in the ring. However that looks. If that is being super aggressive and just wanting to dominate every round. So yeah, you've got like Toby, he's a phenomenal fighter. And he's one of the fighters that we were, talking about when we say there's incredible fighters in Australia that the world does need to know about. Toby's one of those fighters. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Then you've got fighters like Jenny No coming up, and we're huge fans of Jenny. If you're listening, Jenny, we love you. We got to see her ringside at Roots in Melbourne, and we even spoke to Sai about what was one of his favourite fights from that most recent Rebellion of Roots card, and he said out of all of them, like one of his favourites was Jenny's fight because she's got so much heart. She's just such a lovely person, and when she's in the ring, she just loves fighting, and you can see it. And I think that's like Sim says, you're drawn to styles, you're drawn to the character of the fighter. That all comes through in the ring. But there's, Kaylee Reese for sure, definitely. I mean, looking back a few years ago, I actually really enjoy watching Soren. Soren's one of my favourite fighters, like, of all time. He was an incredible fighter out of MTG in Queensland, and he was out of M&A for a while too. And yeah, obviously, like I said before, when I first started training, Ronda Rousey was right up there. GSP, George St. Pierre, he's always been one of my favourite martial artists, and he's a really good representative for the combat sports community too, so I really respect that about him. When I was younger, he was the first fighter I ever watched, and I said to my dad I was going to marry GSP when I was older, so we're yet to see if that happens. GSP, boy, if you're listening, I'm joking. Joking. If I could interview him, it would be great. I'd probably fangirl.
He was in Melbourne the other month. Where were you?
We missed him by a week.
We missed him by like 4 days. I literally said to Sim, I was like, I'll do anything to get to Melbourne, but we just couldn't make it happen. I was working away at that stage when he was in Melbourne, so it's all right. I'll catch him. I'll get him. Law of attraction.
Now, something I wanted to talk about with you, Sim, is you're in a relationship with a fellow Riddlers fighter, Ben Kant. Ben Kant. I don't want to say that wrong, although I did. Ben Kant.
Ben Kant, yeah.
Ben Kant. Sorry, Ben, I apologise. Now, given that you know what it's like when training and preparing for fights because you're a fighter yourself, how do you two feed off and support each other in the lead-ups and, post-fight adrenaline dumps and all that sort of stuff?
I think we're pretty good feeding off one another. I think it's I don't think there's a rule of thumb, but I definitely think communication is a good thing. We're both very different in the way we are in fight camps. Like if he's eating around me and I can't eat those things, I don't take that very well. But he's completely fine with me having like chocolate if I want to, and those kinds of things. But I think it's really good that we both understand the different processes that we're going through leading into a fight, and especially coming out of a fight, because I often see people that are perhaps in relationships where their partners are not fighters or athletes, and they really struggle to understand something even as small as like how much your body is aching from training. This kind of things, like that's just a completely different thing. Someone that might go to, like a 24/7 gym every day and train, props to them for going to the gym, and it's all great being healthy and fit and stuff, but it's a completely different thing when you're sparring 5 days a week. That's a different pain altogether. The mental prep leading into a fight, we're really supportive with each other for that, visualization, all on the same page. But it works well, no problem so far.
They're one of my favourite couples. Like, I feel like because Sim's older than me, that's the other funny thing. I'm actually like pretty much the youngest out of the team at the Fight Bowl.
Yeah.
But I've been great. But and now Lenny too. I was the youngest.
Right. Shanice often thinks she's a lot older and bigger than she is. The other day,
oh, shut up.
She's proudly standing up and she's like, "Yeah, I'm 5'4", and I was like,
we were at the pit actually.
Shanice, I'm 5 foot. Sorry, I'm 5'4". You're a little bit shorter than me. And she's like, "No, yeah, I'm definitely 5'4", and I went and stood next to her and I was like, sorry, no."
What broke my heart is that you had Toby standing there, you had Nugget standing there, between all the trainers at the pit, all the fighters, and they're all like, "No, she's definitely not 5'4". I had everyone telling me I'm really short, so I'm probably about 5'2".
Just confident 5'4".
Confident 5'4". I can't even remember where we were going with this. Just said I was older than you.
Yeah. That's all right. I do have a question. How do you? Thanks for bringing to my attention, Shanice, that Simi and her partner are vegan. So I do have a couple of questions about that.
He's gonna hate me.
Yeah.
How do you guys get your protein? And if one of you's training for a fight, will you both eat the same thing, or do you eat separate things?
We both eat the same thing. We get our proteins from a variety of stuff. Like, a lot of people don't even know that vegetables have a lot of proteins in them, and you've just got to have a really varied diet to meet your protein goals. We both eat the same thing, and honestly, like, Ben has been in fight camp the entire year. Actually, for like 2 years, he's been in fight camp. So it's not really like we have shit food. Yeah, we might have like popcorn and ice cream every now and again. But we balance it out really well. Just making sure you get your macros in to perform, really.
And do you, will you, if one of you or both of you are in a fight camp, do you sort of cook all your stuff at the beginning of the week and freeze it all, or you just cook every day?
I cook every day. I mean, ideally would be better prepared and do those things. Mm-hmm. But I actually really enjoy cooking. I don't think I would like to have a week without cooking, to be honest. I enjoy making food, and I make good food. So yeah, I cook every day, and we have enough meals to last. I always have enough food to have, a family of 7 come over and eat.
That's what I was going to say before, about them being my favourite couple. I go over to their house and
there's always food.
Like the adopted child, I'm like, have you got any food? Like her and Ben, they're like family. It's good.
And Simi, have you got any other fights lined up this year so far?
No, nothing's coming up at the moment. Just happy training, really. If something does come up, for sure, yeah. But I'm really focusing on building up my base fitness at the moment. Darren and Kayla, you've got these awesome strength and conditioning and fit classes going on. I'm just working on like my core fitness. Something that Darren speaks about with his fighters is treating yourselves like athletes.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really sort of learning, especially in the past couple of weeks, how to be an athlete and to eat and perform like an athlete. Because you always think you're training hard and stuff, but are you doing the right kind of training? Best for your body? Are you fueling your body the right way? Are you fueling your body at the right time? That kind of thing. So I'm playing with a lot of things at the moment, making sure I can perform at my best for my next one.
How's the sparring between you two? Do you two go hard with each other?
Sim is a southpaw, so sometimes. I remember the first few times that I sparred her, there was this one session in particular, she clipped me just straight across the side of my head with, her rear kick, because obviously she's southpaw.
Yeah.
And I couldn't chew food properly for like 2 weeks, and I was so dirty on it for it. I still bring it up in training. But what it did do is it made me guard up really well.
Put your hands up, yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting better at not being emotional when I train, like if I'm having a bad day, not letting that carry into my sparring. But Sim's pretty good at calling me out on it, without she doesn't need to say anything. I can just, she balances me out pretty well. So when I'm sparring with her, I always stay pretty level-headed, and we spar well.
Yeah, I think as a team, like we all bring out the best in one another. I mean, I'm speaking in terms of like the Riddler's fight team. We all making sure that we push one another so that we can, perform the best for when we fight.
There's a good culture at the gym for sure.
I've been at gyms where I've been perhaps one of 2 fighters or the only person fighting at that time, and it's a very different culture. It's a very different experience, and I feel so privileged to be a part of, such a big team and such a team that's actually focused on just, being your best and performing and fighting and going out there and showing that, you put in the hard yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, girls. Now, the other week you were at the USC gym, I think in Balcatta. You got to meet TJ Dillashaw. How was that?
That was really cool. Sim was meant to be with me for that little outing, but Ben surprised her with tickets to go over to Warriors Way with him for his fight for Radaz last minute. Yeah. So I ended up going. I actually ended up taking little Courtney with me. So Courtney, she's a young upcoming fighter, but she's a little gun. She wanted to come on board for the day, so I took her with me. We got to meet TJ, and I've met a few UFC fighters now. One of my favourites is Mark Hunt. I met Mark Hunt a few years ago at a fan expo and then got to interview him this year, so that was a cool little contrast. But TJ is definitely one of the nicest UFC fighters I've met. And the crew at UFC Gym Balcatta have been really supportive to the Fight Vault as well. So, I'm looking forward to really establishing a good working relationship with them in the future, because they have excellent facilities to use. The whole day was really good. It was a grand opening ceremony for them. So TJ officially opened the gym. And he was cool. We didn't get to have a lot of time with him. But a fighter of that sort of stature, he's got a pretty busy schedule, so he was sort of in and out. But he did his meet and greet, and all the fans had a good time. And it was a really good day.
Was his trainer Dwayne Ludwig there as well?
I didn't see Dwayne. I didn't see him. But there's a lot of people there, so maybe he was in the background. I don't know. But TJ had just come from Parramatta over east, so he'd done the grand opening for that gym over there. So I don't know what their plans are with the UFC gym, but probably we'll see a few more athletes come through next year. But they're not a fight gym; they're just a commercial gym, really focused on building a good, healthy family sort of community vibe at the gym. So. Yeah, for sure. Definitely happy to plug those guys because they've been really helpful with us. So, it was a good day. It was good.
Cool. Now, in terms of the Fight Vault itself, what have you got planned with it over the next couple of weeks? I know there's a couple of shows coming up. You're going to be a part of that?
Yeah, so we will be at Domination And so, yeah, if by all means, if you see us floating around at shows, anyone, just come up and say hi. We love meeting new people. And we've got Evolve coming up in November, so I'm sure Sim will be floating around at the show. Other than that, we're not really booked for anything else at the end of this year. We do have some, projects that we're working on behind the scenes. We are looking at some clothing as well, some training gear and things that obviously we've got the new logo in the works, so we can't create any clothing until we finish the logo. So there's just a few things we're ironing out, and then I think the next thing after that we'll be heading over to Brisbane in January, and we'd love to get back to Melbourne at some stage. So there's not a lot locked in at this stage. The first, probably the most prominent thing that is Domination next weekend, and that'll be an awesome fight card as always. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm hoping they do a like a little live weigh-in, at least for the 4-man and for Toby and Eddie, that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it'll be good. There's some awesome matchups, and again, the Muay Thai community right now. There's so many great fighters just shooting through the ranks. Every fight show this year has just been quality. Every show that we've been part of, there's been great matchups and great fighters coming through. So Domination will be no different. It'll be really good. Some really exciting fights happening, and we're looking forward to being part of it.
And if people want to get in contact with you or follow you, can you give us just how we can get a hold of you, like Facebook, Instagram, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so you can find us on the Fight Vault on Instagram. I'm pretty sure that's just our Instagram name, the Fight Vault, and then Facebook again, Fight Vault Oz. That's our hashtag is Fight Vault Oz. And then the website is thefightvault.net. We probably are looking at doing a new website next year, just so we can put more things onto the website. Just for growing, there's a lot of ideas that, like I said, we've got so many ideas going at the moment. There's some really cool things happening next year. But and email fightball@gmail.com. So
for those people that still email.
But people are always welcome to reach out to Sim or I. We're both very approachable as well. So I'm always on my phone and happy to chat.
And last but not least, anyone that you want to thank or give a shout out to?
I'd just like to thank everyone that's been following us this entire year, especially Shanice. My weakness, I suppose, is my social media presence. I am really absent on social media. Shanice is often teaching me how to Instagram. But I just wanted to thank everyone for supporting us. I want to thank the promoters that have had us on their shows this year. Most recently, we went on Adam Bailey's show, and we were mildly present at Warriors Way. Obviously, being in the corner, I was a bit preoccupied, but we still got some things done for Warriors Way. Mark Hamill was a real good support there. Bailey.
We've been on Epic this year.
Domination.
Pictures with Chantel, Eternal. Had a lot of, part of what we see.
If there are any promoters that would like us on their show, shout out to you guys. Just send us a message and we'll be happy to help you out, fill in the gaps, be a part of the show.
Yeah, we've had a lot of support. Like I said, it's not possible for us to grow without that support. It really fuels us, and the more people that, come on board and follow what we're doing, it just makes us want to do better and be better every day. We're constantly looking at what we can do to just level up, continue putting out that content that people do want to read about, and, ultimately just bring some exposure to Australian Muay Thai and show what we've got to the rest of the world. We've had some great support from the promoters. I do want to especially mention Nugget. We've got Rick and Sai and Mark as well. Mark Hammer, we've had some great support there. And then the local gyms that let us go into their space and, you know, do the filming and the photos that we need to do. There's so many people that we could thank, but yeah, we're just really grateful and we're humbled. We're just doing what we love at the end of the day. Can't wait for bigger and better year next year. Thank you for having us on Muay Thai interviews. We love what you're doing as well.
Thanks for the chat, man. I really enjoy what you girls are doing, and I enjoy reading your articles, and yeah, keep up the good work, especially that Dame Daddy Cool. That was a good one. So yeah, can't wait to see what else you girls are going to have planned for next year. Hey, can I ask, or can I not go there, about, can you give us more info about that when you had that photo? Was it out in front of Channel 7 or Channel 9 studio?
Yeah. So we're trying to bring some more mainstream exposure, obviously, to Australia. I think that comes down to building a good rapport with mainstream media. So what we kind of did was we marched in and we said we'd like to speak to the director of sports. And that was another one of those ideas that I had that was quite out there, but it kind of worked. And we're at the moment, we're in the process of putting together a bit of a presentation and a pitch so we can look at bringing some mainstream exposure back to Muay Thai. So lately, we've been travelling a lot to gyms across Perth, just getting some footage, getting some photos and putting together this presentation. That presentation will definitely keep everyone updated, but we're hoping to have it done before the end of this year. Definitely will within the next month, I'm hoping. But yeah, it's the biggest thing we've ever ventured out to do so far, I think.
In the corporate business sense.
Yeah.
Apart from getting an accountant, that was pretty legit.
Yeah. Yeah, that was legit. But yeah, there's not a lot happening, but there is a lot happening on that front, and we're just putting together that. It all comes down to this presentation. So, like I said, the support that we're receiving on that front has been amazing. People just getting behind us because, you know, we're doing this for Australian Muay Thai. We're doing this for the fighters and for the local promoters. So keep supporting us, and we'll keep going out there and doing our thing for sure.
Nice. I like that attitude. Just go in there and just get it. Just take it. That's good.
What have you got to lose, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're not going to get anything just standing around twiddling your thumbs, are you?
Exactly. So, yeah, hopefully here's to a bigger and better 2019.
Nice. Thanks for your time, ladies.
Thank you.
Explain to me the history of how to throw a vicious knee. I got a passion for the art of 8 limbs. I'm just asking from the heart. So as I conclude this interview, thanks so much for sitting through. Love to all the fighters and the folks that listen. This for you.